Hey guys, this is Mike Bradley from Lightheart Labs, and I just wanted to show off VEO 3 real quick because I get a lot of requests for people who are looking to build videos or make video content with AI. So felt like a worthy add-on in addition just to share this to some people. So this is VEO 3. Like everything else we've interacted with, very straightforward platform really. You talk to it in plain English and it makes videos for you. Right now we're inside Flow Studio from Google. You can see some of the cool and kooky things that I've done in here over time. And let's make a video. So we start by going to New Project down here. That's going to take us to a prompt screen that really doesn't look much different than ChatGPT or anything else that we interact with. We've got text to video down here. That just means we can type things and it's going to make a video off of it. We can select quality here. So there's a couple of different video models. 3.1 is the latest one. So you can choose between 3.1 quality and 3.1 fast. So one's just going to generate a little quicker and be a little cheaper. And you could pick how many outputs that you're going to have per video. At first, that might seem like a strange option. Like, why would I choose 4 outputs if I'm just trying to make one 8-second clip? But I think you'll start seeing why in just a little bit. So let's just start with 2 for now. And let's make like a tiny, charming town at sunset out of paper. So while that's cooking, I gave it a very simple prompt. A tiny, charming paper town at sunset. So there's some strengths to this, and there's also some disadvantages, right? And so a strength is, in some ways, my lack of context actually gave it freedom. It's going, oh, you just want to make a tiny paper town? It's going to now make a paper town however it thinks that should look. I haven't given it super strict instructions of how should a roof look? You know, are there people walking around in the town? Should a train be going by right now? All of those things add depth to your videos, and they also add complexity. And you're going to notice that as we do things that are more complex, we get more and more interesting videos, but also we get more and more errors. If you need people that are talking back and forth with each other and you start generating videos where they're trying to communicate, one might be saying all the lines instead of the other. One might be moving its lips instead of saying any words. As a rule of thumb, the more complex you make your videos, the more of a likelihood you're going to get of an error. So it's always walking this fine balance between how much detail do I want to add, how much control do I want to have over what I'm producing, and how much room for error do I want to have, and how much money do I want to spend on video credits generating these things, because every single one of these will cost you something. So let's look at our towns real quick. So this looks pretty cool. It's jumping back and forth between 2 towns in this one, so you can already see an error, right? It generated 2 totally different towns that morphed into each other. Let's check the second one. It looks pretty cool coming in. Let's see if it makes some of the same errors. Lights light up. Oh, that's really cute. Yeah, no errors. Perfect. So you can already kind of see why we generate more than one video at a time. When you go in here and you check your settings, you technically can generate one video, but it's not going to give you really good feedback on whether or not you gave it a good prompt or you've got a good idea. I usually start with 2 when I want to test something to see if a prompt is functional. And then if I'm really trying to move it into production, refine it, I start spinning up more and more so I can capture that perfect output. But you can see right here, we gave 1 prompt to these 2 videos and it generated 2 totally different videos. And you're going to see that as a recurring theme here. So let's generate something a little more sophisticated. This will be a great example of issues that you can encounter with complexity. Let's make 2 people talking to each other. Have 2 friends telling each other a funny story. Now again, I didn't give it too much that it had to do. We can put it inside of a place. Let's say inside of a cafe in York. So we gave it a few more details there. We've got two friends. They're telling each other a funny story, and it's inside a cafe in New York. And so one of the things that you're going to notice when people start talking to each other is you start getting lip syncing issues. One friend, like I said, might just be doing all the talking and the other one's barely responding. And then all of a sudden you wind up going, okay, if I really want to capture this video well, I have to spin up more and more and more copies so that I can get that one perfect output that I really like. But it follows the theme. As you increase complexity, as more things have to interact with each other, as more detail and timing elements have to line up perfectly, it gets harder and harder to generate something that's flawless or meeting the expectations of your final output. So one thing you're going to see here on the percentage loading screen, these things never get to 100%. So you've got these loading bars, but somewhere around 30%, 40%. I've never seen one go past 50%. They all pop up. Now, some things that you're going to see right away on this video. Look at this guy. I mean, his face is just crazy. He's just making the weirdest expression in the world. He is just freaking out with his laugh. This other lady, not quite as bad, but still pretty exaggerated. Let's see what they're doing in their stories.
I swear the squirrel looked him dead in the eye and said, 50 cents for the nuts, buddy. Get out of here. That did not happen.
I don't know, apparently a squirrel and some nuts. But if we move the frame forward a little bit, his face doesn't look as bad. So maybe if we took this as like a starting frame, that video would have worked. Because it really wasn't that bad afterwards.
The squirrel looked him dead in the eye and said, 50 cents for the nuts, buddy. Get out of here. That did not happen.
So let's see what our other video is. And notice again, same prompt, two totally different videos. One's two men, one's two women, blue coffee cups, black coffee cups, both inside a cafe. The cafe elements actually look kind of similar, which is interesting. So when it came up with an idea of what a cafe in New York looks like, it actually came up with a very similar thing. You could almost convince yourself that these two were talking inside the same environment. You've got the brick walls, you've got the black framed windows. Oh my God, it's actually really cool. When you look at the background, there's like a red awning behind these two guys, and there's a red awning across the street behind these women as well. The photos that are framed on the walls actually look very similar, sitting on these brick and stucco walls. The cafe itself is oddly singular as a place that they're interacting, even what's outside the window. But of course, the friends changed. So let's see what this other joke is about.
I swear, the look on his face when he realized it wasn't his sandwich.
Oh my God, you are terrible.
So something about it wasn't his sandwich, and they find it really, really funny. But you can see as we slowly start ratcheting up details and complexity on these things, they can get a little bit more and more tricky. So let me show you some examples of some really, really complex prompts and scenes where we're really trying to do specific things and what they can look like. I was messing around earlier with cartoons, like a cartoon of a guy called Taxman, who flies in and he fights a receipt monster, and he's there to save the day for people who are struggling with their taxes. And this is a great example of something that's kind of just all over the place. And you can see I generated a ton of prompts messing around with it. So let's look at Taxman real quick. Okay. So in that one, he flies in, like the monster kind of gets vaguely pushed out of the way. Doesn't really look like he did much of anything. Let's try this one. Another one, he flies in, the animation looks kind of wonky. Let's look at another. Now he's speaking gibberish, as he's not delivering the lines. And mind you, in all of these, he's supposed to be having like an intro from like a retro cartoon announcer type guy.
When the powers of finance, foresight, and careful planning converge to fight for the common taxpayer, you get Taxman.
That's a little better, but still kind of glitchy. But if you wanted to look at this particular prompt and script, so if we went to ChatGPT real quick, let's look at the prompt for Taxman. So the Taxman prompt is pretty long. It's describing a scene, an animation style, a sequence of events that have to be happening, what an announcer is supposed to be doing while that's going on. It generates a heck of a lot of detail. So like our scenes look somewhat consistent. The animation style in all of these looks like it was drawn by the same artist. It's kind of like retro cartoony, like Powerpuff Girls, kind of animation. But it's not consistent in output. Sometimes the announcer talks, sometimes they don't, because they're thrown off by the other audio that's happening in the video. Sometimes Taxman flies in and he delivers a punch and the receipt monster goes flying off. Other times it glitches out or rolls forward or there's like an odd pause. As you start trying to get really, really complex scenes pulled together, it's going to get trickier and trickier. Now, let's go to one final example real quick while I have you guys. So with a lot of these videos, and so far we've been doing the traditional 8-second clips. Sometimes you're going to see people who have managed to stitch together multiple clips to extend them beyond 8 seconds. So someone's trying to tell a story or create something. This is a great example of that. So in this, I made like a fun character who's essentially just introducing himself, and he's going to teach you VEO 3.
Hey there, and welcome. I'm going to walk you through how to use VEO 3 to bring your ideas to life. Let's jump in and start creating.
Now that seems really cool. Like, oh, awesome. Like an 8-second clip. We've got this animated guy. He's really excited to be teaching us about VEO 3. You could easily picture in your head a series of clips being attached to that, where we go through how to do VEO 3, looking at all these individual elements. But you're going to realize it's a lot more complicated than that. For starters, look at these two individual people. So off of the same prompt, I generated this guy.
Hey there, I'm Charles, and welcome. In this video, I'm going to walk you through how to use VEO 3 to bring your ideas to life.
Now I love Charles. He's friggin' awesome. But she doesn't look anything like this guy. So you can easily picture as I'm going scene to scene, it starts getting more and more complicated, trying to get a sense of continuity, trying to get the same person to keep popping up again and again, trying to make them sound like themselves again and again. So let's start with Charles, and let's see what we can do with him. So we're going to go to Charles, and we're going to click this option, Add to Scene. This takes us to Scene Builder, which is pretty cool. Here's an example of Scene Builder. We've got this original guy talking.
Hey there, and welcome. I'm going to walk you through how to use VEO 3 to bring your ideas to life. Let's jump in and start creating.
Now, you're going to have a lot of options, but essentially what you're trying to do in Scene Builder, and when you've got your original clip, you're going to try to take the last clip from the video that you just hosted and use it as a way to show VEO what your person looks like and give them a sense of continuity and character. So here we could do something simple, like do like a screenshot real quick. Full screen, go to clipboard, and I can cut this down and really lock in on Charles in the last frame of this scene. And I'm going to feed that back to VEO. I'm going to go, hey, this is Charles, and he needs to continue talking about VEO. So here he is. Let's save him real quick. And now I'm going to go to my settings here, where I create another prompt, and I'm going to go frame to video. Now, frame to video, I can choose what the starting frame is going to look like. So let's take Charles. He's going to be my starting frame. And I can have a prompt like, Charles continues talking about the features of VEO 3. Now it's going to try to take that original frame, it's going to look at it and go, okay, this person starting in this position is going to try to continue talking about VEO 3. Now, mind you, I did a lazy prompt here. If I was really doing this accurately, I would be looking at the former prompt that I issuing it in a very, very similar style, and attaching that frame, and then saying exactly what I wanted to continue in the next frame. But this still gives you a pretty good idea of what we're doing. So we're in Scene Editor. Here's an example of one of these that I extended previously. So let's go to the first frame of this guy. We've seen him before, and you'll see him jump to the next 8-second frame where he's continuing to explain VEO.
Hey there, and welcome. I'm going to walk you through how to use VEO 3 to bring your ideas to life. Let's jump in and start creating. You might be intimidated by the idea of making your own AI videos, but really it's as simple as talking to a producer friend who does all the work for you.
Now you'll see there, in some ways he was consistent. We took the original guy, he continued talking. His voice changed slightly. His pacing changed a little bit. He's kind of the same person, but he's kind of not. As you can see with some of the earlier videos where you keep reproducing videos to try to get that perfect output, when you're trying to stitch scenes onto each other, the complexity starts going up significantly, and you have to keep regenerating to make sure that you're getting the next stitch in the scene just right. Let's check in on Charles.
There, I'm Charles, and welcome. In this video, I'm going to walk you through how to use VEO 3 to bring your ideas to life. And this brings me to the most exciting new feature of VEO 3, the integrated collaboration tools.
So Charles, like, his voice just completely changed. It really didn't seem very connected to the previous scene. He was kind of just winging it. But you can kind of see how this works. Right? So you spend a lot of time when you're essentially just creating your perfect 8-second clip. And if you're going to extend it beyond that, you're now taking your next 8-second clip and trying to get that perfect and pair it up with it. And you're kind of just stacking them in order of each other, like Legos or dominoes, just building this chain in the system where they all tend to agree. Some of the final points that I would add for VEO is it's really, really bad at text generation. So if you ask it to write a lot of text all over the place, AI is terrible at doing that in images, so it'll mess it up a lot. Let me share some examples of early tax man.
When the powers of finance, foresight, and careful planning converge to fight for the common taxpayer, you get tax man. When the powers...
So when you get to some of the early clips here, it kind of looks cool. I like it, but when finance needs a hero, like, it messed up on saying when finance needs a hero. Like, it generated some weird artificial text there. If we look through some of the other things, like in these individual buckets where the money's pouring in, savings, future, rainy day. In this one, it gives savings 2 eyes, kind of inexplicably, for no good reason. It managed to get overdue right, and the extra ends in tax man was just made for exaggeration. Like tax man. But it's really important to note that when you have to introduce writing to these things, they break a lot faster. So let's say you're going to make a commercial or something like that. At the end of the commercial, you want your text put into it, or you want a logo or something like that. The way that I would do that is make your original base video inside VEO 3 and avoid the text. As much as possible, don't put text into there. And then import your video after the fact into something like DaVinci Resolve, or any kind of real video editor. And that will give you the ability to layer in text after the fact to your video that will be clean and perfect every single time. You can get all the animations right, you can get everything that you want. Use something like VEO to create the base animation, the base video itself, and then save things like text, headers, company name, information, phone numbers. Save that for after the fact. Layer that over the existing video, and then it'll come out perfect. Either way, that was a bit of a deep dive, longer than my traditional videos, but like I said, I really do get a lot of requests for video stuff from people, either people wanting to understand how to do it, or people asking me to build videos for them. And I kind of just wanted to give you an idea of what that process looks like. On one hand, it's not intimidating. You can talk to these things in English. It's pretty straightforward. You can build pretty good prompts with your LLM helping you as a buddy. It's frontier technology. It messes up all the time. It's constantly having errors. When you try to stitch things together, it adds complexity. And the most important thing in all of this is that adds cost. Roughly every single video that I might have generated right now might have cost me 50 cents or $1 or something like that to generate. So when I generate 4 in a shot, like I might be spending $4 in video credits. This stuff isn't cheap. So if you're going to generate something complex, you've got to factor in the fact that you're going to be burning a bunch of video credits, just really trying to get the scenes right, everything building the right way, and stitching everything together so it feels like a whole consistent work. And then you've got to factor in if you've got to add in text and things like that, after the fact video editing, where you're going to add those things in. But either way, nothing for you guys to be intimidated by, definitely something that you can jump into and have fun with. And the important thing to take away from all of this is just remembering, even Taxman, as silly and crazy as that guy is, making an animation of like that style and that quality, even if it was just 8 seconds, that might have been like a couple $1,000 project back in the day just to go, yeah, I don't like it, let's make it a different way. Now, you could spend an afternoon and maybe burn $25 worth of video credits and, getting a good 8-second clip. So even though it does cost money and you can burn through it doing this stuff, it's still an awesome, awesome creative tool. You can do so many different things with it. I really encourage you to check it out and go wild with it. And as always, I hope I was helpful. Thanks so much, guys. Have an incredible day.